Hey everybody, this is Scott from Wall Street Prep, and I'm going to use this video to answer a question we get a lot from our trainees, which is, can I go through your courses, whether it be a financial modeling course, an Excel course, an accounting course, can I go through these courses using Excel for a Mac? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can. You may notice that the instructor in these courses is using some shortcuts that you will not be able to use, but other than that, the functionality really is identical except for some very advanced features that we really don't get into at all. Now, if you're used to Excel for Windows and you've moved over to a Mac, I think the most challenging thing is going to be when it comes to navigating through the worksheet with shortcuts, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But first, I wanted to touch on another question we get sometimes, which is about virtualization software. And what virtualization software does basically is it'll let you run a different operating system alongside your current operating system. So if we're on a Mac here, we can actually run Windows and therefore run the Windows version of Excel on your Mac. I think the two most widely used pieces of software are VMware Fusion that you can get here at vmware.com, or Parallels Desktop for Mac is another widely used one. I actually use Parallels myself. Here you can see I have the Mac version of Excel here on one screen, and I move over to another desktop space that I have, and I'm in the Excel version here. So I'm not going to get too much into virtualization software. I did just want to point that out, that if you're really used to using Excel or some other applications in Windows and you've moved over to a Mac, it might be something you just want to look into. Okay, with that being said, now let's get into the issue of shortcuts. You should already have our Excel shortcut cheat sheet, which shows the most used shortcuts for both Windows and Mac. And if you don't have that, I'm going to put the link up right here. What you're going to notice is that there are a lot more options for the Windows version. And I want to go over why that is. So if we focus on the rows and columns section of this cheat sheet here, you'll see a little hole there for the column width and the row height shortcuts. And you'll also notice on the Windows side that those all start with the Alt key. And what those are, they're not really shortcuts. They're called accelerator keys. And what they do is they allow you to get into the ribbon and find various functions in there by using your keys. So let's look at this first one. I'm going to move over to my Windows version. And when I hit Alt, you'll notice those little letter icons pop up. And let's look at our first, in the rows and columns here, let's look at the first one that Mac doesn't have, and that's set column width, Alt H-O-W. So Alt and then H for home, okay? And then we have O for format, which is this over here. And then we can hit W, which is column width, and that's gonna pop up this little box here to set the column width. Now these accelerator key sequences, they are native to the Windows operating system. Again, these aren't really shortcuts. A shortcut, as I think of it, is something like Control O to open a file, Control S to save a file. It's a sequence of keys that actually performs a function. These sequence of keys, these accelerator keys, are really just a way to navigate through the ribbon. Now, Mac has something similar. You'll notice when you go over to the Mac side here, you have your ribbon as you do in the Windows version, but you also have the native Mac menu up top here, the menu that always says File, Edit, View, for example. Now, you technically can get into that menu. If you hit Control F2, you'll see the Apple icon is now highlighted, and I can use my arrow keys if I want to go through this. For instance, Insert, and if I hit down, I can go pop that down. I can insert a function by going here, hit Return, and I have my formula builder bar that pops up. So again, that's sort of similar to the accelerator keys on Windows. You're basically just getting up into the menu bar and choosing things to do with your arrow keys. I don't think you're going to find it as useful, and personally, I just use my mouse when I don't know a shortcut. I'll let you make that decision whether you want to use the, again, Control F2 and sort of navigate through the menu that way. But then, again, you're actually navigating through the Mac menu for Excel. You're not navigating through the Excel ribbon itself. Okay, next I'm going to show you some Mac settings that you may want to disable if you want to use the full range of the shortcuts here we have on the Excel shortcut sheet. And we're going to focus on two things. One is the use of function keys and how that works on a Mac. And then we're going to specifically disable a default Mac setting that's going to allow you to use the Control arrow keys in order to move through the worksheet a little bit, which is something, if you're familiar with navigating through Excel with shortcuts, that's something that you probably do use. So let's get into the function keys first. As you know, function keys are sort of a fundamental part of using shortcuts, and on a lot of Macs, such as the MacBook I'm using, the function keys, that's specifically the F1, F2, F3, they double as some settings such as volume settings, brightness and contrast settings. So if I hit, for example, F2 right now, you'll see the brightness icon come up. And so if you're in Excel on a Mac and you go ahead and you just hit F1, that's what's going to happen. So the only way to use those function keys without changing the default setting is to actually press the FN key. That's sort of the key that allows the F1, F2, F3 keys to be used as function keys. You're going to have to hold down the FN key and then hit F1. So remember, before when I hit F1, we had the brightness. Now if I hold down the FN key and I hit F1, we're going to get our shortcut to bring up the Excel help menu. Now obviously that's an extra step that you might not want to deal with, so I'm going to show you how to get rid of that. Go to your System Preferences up in the Apple menu, go to Keyboard, and you're going to find the first one highlighted here is Keyboard, and just click on Use F1, F2 keys as standard function keys. And now when I come back to Excel and I want to get my help menu up, I can just directly hit the F1 key and we're good to go. Okay, so the second Mac setting we're going to disable here has to do with Mac's mission control and spaces. If you're not familiar with that, if I go up here, you'll see I have a few spaces. I have Desktop 1, Desktop 2, and Desktop 3, which again is my Parallels Windows operating system. You can actually move through these spaces by hitting the Control and arrow keys like I'm doing here. And the downside to that is Control arrow keys are used for some important Excel shortcuts. So we're going to probably want to go ahead and disable that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Again, go up to System Preferences, and again, we're going to go to the Keyboard. We're going to go to the Shortcut section, and right under Mission Control here, there's this little drop down. It should already be dropped down. Move a space left and move a space right. We're going to disable those. So now when I go back to Mac Excel, I can now use the shortcut to go to the other side of the continuous range. I can hit Control right arrow, and now I'm all the way on the right side of this range here in row 5, and now I'm on the left side. So those are two settings you're probably going to want to disable in order to use your shortcuts as you would on Windows. So that's about it. What I did not intend to do is to go through all of the actual key differences for the Mac versus Windows shortcuts. That's what this Excel cheat sheet is for. And if you're just getting started with shortcuts, I would urge you to just pull up a sample sheet, a sample spreadsheet, and go through all of the shortcuts, see what they do, get familiar with them, and I think you'll find them very helpful. Now, if you're planning to learn more about shortcuts for Excel, and you're in our Excel course, even though the instructor is using Windows, I would still go through the shortcuts videos. The keys themselves might be different, but he does get into why certain shortcuts are going to be helpful for you, what the most important shortcuts are, which ones you absolutely should be using. So I still would watch those videos and just keep your cheat sheet handy and look at the actual key differences there. Okay, thanks for watching.